This video is brought to you by Connext. Connext is a cross-chain protocol that lets you build cross-chain applications and experiences in a secure way. Rob and I really enjoyed their tech because they don't add any new security assumptions on top of the connected chains, as they don't rely on an external validator set or an oracle. Security is definitely paramount in DeFi, so we're excited to work with Connext. Hope you enjoy this video. What's going on, guys? Live from ETHCC, day 2, here with my buddy Ross. Been talking to Ross for maybe two years now or so. So it's been good coming back. Just had a really good interview with Jordy from Polygon ZK-VM. Did a really deep dive into the Polygon 2.0 architecture and what's going on at ZK-VM. Gonna dive in here with Ross about Rhino Fi. I just want to give you guys a quick update on Connext and their chain abstraction toolkit. This is great for dApps who want to allow their users to interact with the dApp on any chain. And Connext does not use any external trust assumptions. It doesn't use any validator sets, strictly just the native architecture and the native bridges within the ecosystem. So without further ado, we're hyped today to have Ross here from Rhino Fi. Ross is a DeFi OG. So yeah, Ross, what are you cooking up these days?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on the podcast. I think this is a really good time to have a catch up because it was this time last year that we caught up just as the rebrand happened and our pivot, and you've also pivoted as well. So a lot's happened in the past year. Maybe I could cover a little bit about that and what we've been up to. So this time last year, so before to last year, we were the first order book DEX that was decentralized, built on StarkX. We gave people aggregated liquidity for the top DeFi markets, and we were getting like good volumes during the bull market, $20 million a day of spot volume. And we were like, well, we can do more with this technology. Like the world's changed now. It's not just about order book DEXs. There's AMMs, liquidity pools. There's this explosion of multiple chains. DeFi's got 1,000 times more complicated than what it was back in 2019. So we were like, well, why don't we use the basis of our technology, but really build on this? So about this time last year, we announced a rebrand, and that cemented our move towards becoming what we're calling a DeFi aggregator. So Rhino Fi is all about allowing you to access the best of DeFi from one place. So you can go to Rhino Fi, deposit your crypto. You've got one wallet that controls your Rhino Fi account, so you can connect with like MetaMask or Ledger. And then from your Rhino Fi account, which is on StarkX and completely non-custodial, you can access the best vaults. You can access staked ETH. You can access sommelier real yield opportunities for Bitcoin and ETH. You can access bridging, so you can bridge your funds to different blockchains. You can access order book trading. You can access AMMs. So really the whole lot. You can view your NFTs, the bunch. So we're really creating this one-stop shop. This is really cool because we think during the next big wave of adoption, you need this abstraction layer for DeFi, because you're not going to get your mom and dad fighting smart contracts and bridging all around the 50 different chains without a bit of help to begin with. So that's our aim, that's our goal. And so what have we actually done in the past year? Well, we've added all these extra vaults to Rhino Fi, so you can do one-click access to all these vaults and strategies. But really, where we're seeing the kind of biggest success story at the moment is with the launch of all these layer 2s and bridging. So back a year ago, we had one bridge to Polygon because we were using it as an onboarding tool to get people from wherever they hold their funds into Rhino without having to pay gas, when gas was like 1,000 𝗋. But we've now got bridges to 𝗪𝗋 Sync Era, Polygon ZK-VM, 𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗵, and we're seeing these bridges do like thousands of transactions a day. And we really seem to have hit this spot with people. So we offer super fast bridging. So you can go from any one of these chains to any other chain in about like 10 seconds. So we're very much focused on that. You've got a job to be done. You need to do it quickly. You need to move your funds quickly, whether it be for exploring a new DeFi frontier, exploring new vaults, or airdrop hunting or whatever. You can come to Rhino Fi and you can just go from one chain to the other super quick. And that's where we're at the moment. And that's what we're kind of leaning into. So we've gone from, in the first 3 years of Rhino Fi existence, we had 70,000 customers. As of yesterday, we've now gone to 252,000 customers. So this like massive jump based on all these bridges that we're launching is really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, the bear market is such a good time to pivot. I mean, it's like you're faced with some tough times and you have to make choices with people and with your product, and you have to look at things and be very honest with yourself about what is actually being built here, what value is being provided, what are we trying to achieve in the coming years, how are we going to prepare for this next cycle. And it kind of seems like you guys, similar to us, have kind of made a choice, and it's turned out to be a good one. I think an old mentor of mine has always kind of told me, in life you just have to make decisions. You're gonna make some good ones and you're gonna make bad ones, but you just have to make choices and keep moving, or else you just kind of sit there and you're stagnated. So kind of off of the old guy wisdom conversation back into DeFi, as far as your bridge infrastructure and your mental model towards what you guys are building, I'd love to kind of unpack that a bit as well.
Yeah, I think it's really cool what you mentioned there about like pivoting. Rhino Fi is really cool because it's got like 5 different things that it can do. It's a one-stop shop, right? So ultimately, we're all about giving users access to DeFi, the best of DeFi. That's the goal. That's what we want to do. We want to get 1 billion users into DeFi using Rhino as their place that they go to do everything they need to do. At the moment, Layer 2 launches are really hot, and it's awesome to see the innovation that's going on there. And we are connecting to those bridges to allow people to explore these new frontiers as all these new use cases pop up on all these new chains. We allow people to seamlessly move across there. But then it could be in 6 months' time that there's a fantastic yield opportunity. At the moment we're seeing staked ETH as being the biggest staking opportunity. That is just going from strength to strength. There's like $20 billion now of ETH staking in the Beacon chain, probably more. That's continuing to grow. Who knows what it could be in 6 months? It could be restaking with EigenLayer. It could be some new cool real yield opportunity. And we want to bring that to our users. Right now, people are bridging. That's what they want to do. They want to go explore. So that's what we're doing. So going back to your question around what we're thinking around bridging. So we've taken this approach. So Rhino Fi is very much like a product company. We want to rely on other people's infrastructure to do all the heavy lifting. We want to own the customer and have that customer experience, which is why we're putting so much effort into the UI and the UX and the account abstraction and the wallet connectivity and all that lovely stuff. So what we've done is we've launched the bridge using our own technology, which is very, very quick, very easy to use. It's all controlled by us. Uses our own collateral to collateralize the bridges. So we've got our own companies, ETH, USDC, and the smart contracts. So there's no risk to user funds because if something was to go wrong, it would be our own funds that were lost, not the users' funds or LP's funds. And that's what we're going for. So we are getting feedback as we roll these bridges out to different chains on what people want. And our sort of unique proposition, I guess, is the speed. If you want to move $10 million from Arbitrum to Optimism, Rhino Fi is not the bridge for you. You would go and use something like Connext or not multi-chain anymore. Yeah, let's talk about that. Or 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵, for example. 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗵 is doing some amazing work. But if you want to come and move anything from a couple of dollars up to $100,000, you come and do it with Rhino Fi, and you can do it in 5 seconds, which is really cool. But we are investigating lots of really amazing technology providers who are building some really cool infrastructure, like Connext, fantastic team, just got integrated in MetaMask, so you can do all your bridging through MetaMask by Connext, which is awesome. Known the team for a long time. They're one of the original proponents of state channels back in 2017, so it's really cool to see. 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗵, really like what 𝗵𝗵𝗶 is doing. I think they're building.
Heard of 𝗵𝗵𝗶?
𝗵𝗵𝗶 has got a really cool. Not going to talk about them too much on the podcast, but you should look into it.
Yeah.
But they've got this cool thing where they have like a maker-taker system.
Mm-hmm.
So you as a bridger, you would say like, I want to move like $1 million from ETH to Arbitrum, and then they have like solvers on the other side. So market makers compete in auctions to try and take your liquidity. So they don't need to collateralize the pool.
Right.
But it's really cool. Yeah, they do it in you can move funds in a minute or two.
Basically, yeah, the security model is done through the makers and takers, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'd love to keep going, but I think we're running a little bit low here on time. What do we expect from Rhino Fi in the coming months?
Yep, absolutely. Oh, so much, man, so much. If I had to pull something out, so what am I really excited about? 4 trends this year. The growth of Layer 2s, the growth of real-world assets, crypto gaming, and stablecoins. So we're very much focused on the growth of Layer 2s at the moment. We were one of the first Layer 2s to launch on StarkX back in 2020. So we love Layer 2s and all of the stuff that's going on there. So you've got base launching, linear launching, scroll launching, 𝗬𝗫 era ramping up, StarkNet ramping up. So we want to be that place that you go to where you can move all your funds between all these places, support the teams that are building on these new chains in any way that we possibly can. So that's what I'm super excited about. So you come to Rhino to bridge, but also if you're a project on one of these new chains and you want an easy way for people to onboard onto your DApp, then come to us because we can work with you to make that happen.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, those trends are all the ones that I've been hearing about as well, and that are getting rapid TVL growth. Like if you go on DeFi Llama, layer 2's crazy TVL growth, RWA's TVL growth crazy, and then stable coins, which are backed by staked ETH, are getting a lot of growth as well. So that's been interesting to kind of see play out as like almost like maker competitors. I mean, maker, yeah. Maker doesn't care, but like they're just, it's just cool to see more innovations with staked ETH.
Yeah, 100%. I think on the stablecoin point, like you just said, the space is huge. There is only really DAI at the moment, Frax, but there's a massive space there.
Yeah.
And we need these
and I think
stablecoins.
These ones that aren't called like USDT and USDC are gonna be like Raft. Shout out to Raft. Like I think is a cool name for a stablecoin.
Yeah.
I think getting away from this idea, like sure, it's going to be pegged to like $1, or it's going to be inherently worth one value of $1, whether you measure that in euros, yen, or sats. But getting away from the USD terms, I think is a good call.
Yeah, and Rough being a potential like the stable coin of StarkNet maybe eventually could be really cool. We could see different stable coins having different chains that they base themselves on.
That'd be crazy. Got the StarkNet shirt repping today, guys. Yes, got StarkNet CC coming up. That's gonna be a good one. Yeah, nice. All right. I guess there's nobody coming in, so you're pretty early on affiliated with Starkware and kind of StarkX. What's your thoughts on that? On that kind of. And just kind of enlighten us on StarkX is like specifically more like app specific rollups, and then Starkware is basically what powers StarkNet. So kind of, yeah.
What's that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the StarkX was one of the first scaling technologies. It's the equivalent of what they call like an app chain now. So it's our own instance of a rollup that is run by what's called StarkX. It's also the technology that powered SoRare, 𝗬𝗿𝗄𝗃 before they moved to Convos, and 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵. And there's others now like I think Apex and one more called Brine. So that's app specific, fantastic app doing a couple of very specific jobs like trading, swapping at ridiculous scale. You can get like 7,000 transactions per second. Yeah. And Starkware have done this really cool thing which not many people know about, which is called 𝗨, which is a shared proving system between StarkNet and all the StarkX instances. So back in DeFi summer, when we were putting our batch on chain to update the state of our rollup, it was costing us like $1,000 a day in gas just to do that, which was not sustainable. But now all of the rollups are sharing that gas cost, so it costs a few dollars now to put a batch update, a state update on chain, which is amazing.
That's
because
crazy.
That makes it a lot more friendly for new rollups who want to launch.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna jump in with what Jordy was just telling me about Polygon 2.0 and their ZK stack that they're building. Similarly, basically, there's gonna be a shared prover for, like, let's say Jordy described it as a constellation of ZK rollups, where they can actually share the liquidity on the different execution environments. So let's say rollup A has a bunch of liquidity for Chainlink USD pair on a DEX, and then rollup B has a bunch of liquidity for other kind of pairs. You can be on rollup B, still access rollups A, like basically access that liquidity with effectively like an instant bridge swap and an instant bridge swap back, or some sort of form like that, which wouldn't really be possible on optimistic rollups because of the 7-day fraud proof. And so that he was basically explaining that you could have to the nth power of rollups with infinite scale and tons of applications, shared security, shared liquidity, and a shared prover, and it almost operates as one system in this kind of constellation or hub and spoke model, and basically is the same thing that Starkware is kind of trying to get at.
Yeah, and I think this is the next frontier. At the moment, we're very much focused on the base layer of layer 2s. You have a layer 2 based on Ethereum, but on that layer 2, you're then going to be able to have layer 3s and even more. You can have app chains on the layer 2, which means you could publish a state update on the layer 2 every couple of seconds if you wanted to for super cheap. And all these use cases are going to be fantastic. Just been to talk with co-founder Will on ZK Tech, and all these amazing use cases. We could incorporate privacy-preserving app chains on top of layer 2s. And then, going back to your point
So
around...
sick. Rollups, dude. Layer 3s.
And I think, going back to Starknet, what Starknet's doing, amazing, fantastic there. Starknet's the open equivalent of taking all the stuff that was learned from StarkX, but making it open, built in Cairo. So they've gone down the route of different programming language, which makes everything much more efficient. So there's a higher barrier to entry to deploy on that ecosystem. But once you're there, the use cases, the things like account abstraction, much more higher TPS. You can do things like payroll masters, so you can abstract the gas away from people. Just generally, this computation that you can do on Starknet is much more than any other EVM rollup. And it's also really cool because just from a DeFi perspective, very selfishly, I don't think we're going to see a lot of the bad actors that you see on like other chains, because there's so much more friction to deploying on these things. You need to really care about it. So I think the teams that are deploying on there are really good. Yeah, Nostra, ZKX.
Solid.
Yeah,
Because I mean, why would you spend all that time to learn Cairo? You could just go on the EVM chains, right? And try to do things, bad actions. Interesting. Yeah. So I had a couple things. First, Will's still doing well.
Yeah, Will's really cool. Yeah.
Nice. Good to hear. Next, tons of Starknet airdrops and alpha coming Q3, Q4, like that ecosystem's about to blow up.
Yeah, I think the really cool thing with Starknet was the technology was there and they're doing great work, but as of a couple of days ago, it really became usable with their massive prover upgrade. So that's amazing, all built in Rust, much faster, and that's only part of a phased rollout that's happening over the next couple of months, where there's a fee market for transactions on Starknet, so fees will be reduced as well. So right now you can do a transaction and it takes like less than a second.
It's very fast.
Amazing, right? If anything, everything else you're waiting for it to catch up, like the block explorers. But then in a couple of months, you'll see the fees go as well. So that really unblocks a lot of the use cases, which is really
it's
cool.
basically unusable for like the last couple of months, which is unfortunate, but it's almost better in a sense. Like it gave the teams time to build. It gives them time to really understand what they're trying to do, what product that they're trying to build, and like just kind of come to their own terms. So interesting to see. And then as far as Rhino Fi, the focus on abstracting away this kind of complexity, I think it's super bullish. Do you think that kind of concept came from just the teams being experienced in DeFi, or kind of your experience with account abstraction with StarkX and Starkware, kind of understanding that how important that is? Because generally speaking, I mean, I think that's probably one of the most bullish things you guys can do, is just kind of abstract all that complexity away.
I think I didn't even realize when we launched StarkX how powerful that was going to be to us, because it was the first thing around. It was just normal that essentially the rollup provider pays the gas. So we settle the batch on chain. We don't charge customers any gas once you're on Rhino Fi. It's just in the native fee of whatever you pay to do a swap or whatever. That is account abstraction. We didn't really realize that you create a vault on StarkX as a user that's controlled by your wallet. It's in the smart contract. You're not paying any gas. It's like the purest instance of account abstraction that you can get. So seeing that replicated on general purpose rollups is really cool to see. And I think particularly, I think this time last year I was at the Starknet event, talked to lots of games builders, and especially with gamers, their users just do not want to pay any gas. Unless you're launching a crypto native game that you're targeting crypto people. But if you're trying to build for Web 2 on a Web 3 layer, people don't want gas at all, which is why SoRare's done really well, because SoRare's built on StarkX, but you really don't know that you're on StarkX at all. You log in with an email address and you deposit some ETH, and that's about as far as it goes.
Based. It's awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Ross. Thanks for coming on and sharing some really quality and valuable insights. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.